Okay, hello and welcome to the webinar about Synergy Join, the product that makes it easy to schedule and join video meetings. My name is VMR and I'm talking to you from Oslo. Together with me from US, I have my colleague
Mark Dumas. Great to be here, Veman. Thank you for having me.
Great. Let's jump to it. And practicalities, this webinar is going to be all about live demonstrations and a few slides in the beginning. We need to kind of set the stage. And let's kick it off. Synergy Join. Start video meetings on time, every time is our slogan. And why is it important to talk about Join, Mark?
Well, the reality is that UC today is way too complicated. Everyone has struggled to try to get on a video meeting or get there and get on. It's just way too complicated. So who hasn't had the experience of joining 10 minutes late or waiting for someone for 10 minutes? Ultimately, it needs to be a lot simpler, and that's really where Join fits in.
Absolutely. And let's do some clarifications in the beginning here. What challenges do we talk about, and how do we solve those? So, Mark, take us through the workflow and the interop.
Well, bottom line is the industry has done a really great job at putting this interoperability layer, this technical layer that makes all of the systems talk to each other. Some great work's been put in by the likes of some manufacturers out there. But what hasn't been done is that human factor, being able to add a layer of simplicity that allows normal people who are not technocrats to be able to come in, do what they need to do, and harness the power of that great infrastructure that is part of the equation.
Yes, and before we lose more people here on this, we don't lose anyone, and this, I can see that they are adding on people as we are going here, but we had a few brands there, but we have much more brands coming up, and we say that Synergy Join is both flexible and it's safe and it's user-friendly, and it goes for the most used brands out in video meetings. For calendaring function, Outlook and the Google Calendar. For hardware, it is Cisco's one button to push, it's Polycom click to join. For other video conferencing hardware, it's dial out function, meaning that we can organize a call out to that endpoint when meeting is due. For Gateway, MCU, and those services, we support the big brands. And also when it comes to different video clients like Zoom, BlueJeans, etc., we are also supporting most of them. Now, let's look into what are the two main challenges that this person is facing, Mark, and that we can help her with.
I can definitely relate to this person, and to your point, there is really two factors that come in. The first is obviously the scheduling. You really just don't know how people are going to be joining that meeting, how people are going to be interacting with the technology that they have. You don't know if they're coming in through an endpoint in a meeting room. You don't know if they're coming through on a desktop system. WebRTC, you just don't. So ultimately, you need to have a workflow that allows for anybody and everybody to simply access that meeting that you're scheduling. And then number two is really when you actually need to engage with that technology, when you need to show up, when you need to meet and get on that meeting. We've all received that ubiquitous invite with 30,000 lines of detailed code, regardless of whether you're local or external, or a huge flowchart on what to use when. That's way too complicated for even the smartest minds to go through and boil down. And do I need a pin? Do I not need a pin? Do I need to add a prefix? Do I need to add a postfix? Et cetera, et cetera. So ultimately, you need something like Join that comes in and addresses all those issues. Bang. 365 days a week, 365 days a year, every time.
That's true.
I wish there was 365 days in a week.
We could need that sometimes, that's for sure. But now it's demo time, and we're gonna help everyone that has either, you know, some legacy equipment that is still running smoothly, or that are running some latest mobile devices and want to schedule or join from any of which. So now it's demo time, and we say in Synergy, relax, join makes it easy. So let's do a demo, Mark.
Absolutely, let's do it. All right, guys. Well, this demo here is one of our most popular scenarios that we cover, and this is what we like to call the dynamic VMR scenario. And what you see in front of you right now is basically a representation of a Cisco endpoint, and what you're going to see is this as a virtualized canvas for the one button to push mechanism that you'll see us provide through the Synergy Join product. So right off the bat, what we have is a simple invite, which I'll bring over, and from here what we have is basically a title. You guys have seen this a million times. It's basically adding a meeting to the equation. So what I've done there is just add that endpoint that I showed you before. I'm going to add VMN as well to the equation. So not only you're adding resources, but you're also adding people to the meeting. And you'll notice I'm adding nothing else. I'm making sure the time and the date are all appropriate. And once that is done, I'll press send. I'll send anyway. I don't need to put a location in for this purposes. So what is actually happening right now, and you'll hear some bings and some bongs in the background, and that's basically Exchange going in and accepting the endpoint because it is available, ready to go. It's going to be sending out all the other details and information and items required through your natural Outlook/Exchange process, and then once that's all done, it will actually go and pop up the join button so that you're now ready to actually join the meeting, and simply click, and the endpoint then goes in and provides the connectivity. And if I do go back to the actual invite, what you will see is that the system, that Synergy Join has gone and realized that there hasn't been any information added to that invite and provided a templatized mechanism that allows for everyone to see what's going on. This is a dynamic creation leveraging the infrastructure associated to your environment, and basically uses a template that you've decided to craft, puts it in, and allows a user to not only leverage the one button to push, but also leverage a very clean and aesthetically pleasing invite to maneuver. And from here, I can either click and join using WebRTC or click and join using Skype for Business. So not only do you have the green button with the ability to join the conference, but you also have a templatized meeting associated with it. All right, for this scenario, guys, what we're going to be doing is leveraging this screen that you see right here, and this is a virtualized endpoint. You'll see the green button show up on this Cisco touch panel, virtualized touch panel. The scenario we'll be covering right now is the Skype for Business scenario, and what that is basically taking an invite, Skype for Business meeting, adding the required endpoint, and basically just populating the resource associated with that, which is right here. From there, we'll also add VMN to the equation again, so you have your resources as well as people being added. And then instead of going out and adding all kinds of crazy things, what we're going to do is just simply press the Skype for Business meeting, and what's going to happen there is the details associated to the Skype for Business meeting that you want to start will all get embedded within that. Now I just check to make sure my date, my time, and everything is appropriate. Once I know that that is there, as well as the information associated with the meeting, this is something a Skype for Business person does regularly, almost every day that they interact with the Skype for Business environment. So what we'll do here is basically just send, and what the system is really doing is dropping through all the exchange and Outlook mechanisms that are behind the scenes. So if you do have a meeting room that needs approvals and the like, it will go through and adapt to all of that stuff. It will not change any of that workflow. And as you see here, this join button has been added to the equation. So now I simply have to go and simply click that join button, and this endpoint will in fact go and be added to the conference. And more importantly, if I go look at the original invite, all the details that someone would expect a Skype for Business meeting to have are all there. So the workflow has not been disturbed, but what has been augmented is all the detail needed to have this one button to push on the Cisco endpoint. Simple, easy, straightforward. All right, guys, in this scenario, we're going to do the ultimate in interoperability, and that's with the emerging Microsoft Teams. Very popular these days. Everyone is looking towards transitioning from Skype for Business into the future of Teams. Here at Synergy Sky, Synergy Joins already ready to rock and roll when it comes to making sure that that schedule makes it onto your endpoints, regardless of what happens. So ultimately, it all starts as you know from the invite. This one here is going to be titled Microsoft Teams. We're going to add the endpoint. I'm also going to add VMR, because not only can we have resources, but we can also have people associated with that. And from here, what I'm going to do is simply go and use the Teams plugin to add the information associated with that. So once all that's there, I'm going to double check to make sure my date, my time is all appropriate. I'm ready to go. My Teams information is already embedded within there. As you know, it will go through and follow through the exchange process. If you have any details that are required for accepting a room, if you have approvals to be done, all of that stuff will take its course. Nothing will change within the context of your existing Exchange/Outlook workflow. A user books a Teams meeting using the plugin just as they would a regular experience, and then once all of that has been settled, the green button appears on the endpoint. We press the green button, it goes and joins. If we take a look at the original invite, what you will see is the fact that all the details that you expect are there. So if you are a Teams only, don't have any endpoints or anything like that, everything that you need to join that meeting is all there, ready to go. So not only have you scheduled a meeting using Join, adding endpoints into the equation, but you've also not disturbed the normal course of action when it comes to your Microsoft Teams meeting experience. Simple and very straightforward. All right, guys, next up we have the ubiquitous Webex meeting, and basically what we're going to do is leverage our virtual Cisco endpoint, but most importantly what we're going to do is use that Webex invite, that Outlook plugin, in order to allow for an environment to actually capture that information and put it on your endpoint so that you can just walk in, click the button, and get ready to rock and roll. So here we go. As usual, it all starts out with that invite. So once you have your invite, you will be adding in the resource, and we will add that, and then we will also add VMR, because not only can we add resources to the invite, but we also want to make sure that people are included as well. I'll double check to make sure my time and my data are appropriate as they are, and then I will go and add a Webex meeting. So once that settles in, gets all the details associated with that, it's all embedded, it says everything is ready to go. All I need to do is press the send. It's asking for location, don't need to worry about that right now. As that goes in, the Webex information got plugged in there. It's going to go through. It's going to go and check to make sure that this endpoint is available. It will then see if it needs any approvals. It will fall through whatever Exchange/Outlook workflow that the organization has established. Once that's all done, it will go take the details and then throw that information up in a one button to push so that you're in a position to walk into that meeting room, press that green button, and then join that meeting without any interference or without any delay. Again, there it goes. And once you're connected, we'll go back and take a look at the invite. And as you'll see, all the details are there. So in essence, you're not altering your Webex meeting experience or your meeting scheduling experience at all. All the details that you'd expect are there, but most importantly, the details associated to that one button to push, adding that information onto your touchscreen so that you can walk in, click, and go. Simple and straightforward. This is probably my most favorite use case of them all. This is the static VMR use case. And again, we start off from a position of having our Cisco touchscreen there and available. It all starts again with our ubiquitous invite. And with this one here, we're starting off with a static VMR. Our title is in. We're going to add our endpoint to the equation. We're also going to add our friend Vemin. There he is. So now we have resources as well as people. But most importantly here, you'll see that my signature is actually in the bottom of this invite. And what you're going to see join do is basically leverage this information. Oh, first and foremost, let me check to make sure my date and time is appropriate. And yes, it is. So what you're going to see is that the Synergy join is going to go and peruse that invite. And then it's going to see in my invite that it does have some VMR information. My static VMR coordinates are actually embedded in my signature. So it's going to go, it's going to extract those. As you heard, the bings and the bongs in the background are basically establishing that exchange workflow to ensure that A, the endpoint is available, B, that any approvals or anything that are required are actually done. Once that's all said and everything happens, then the Synergy join will push the details of my static VMR to this endpoint so I can walk into the meeting room, press the join button, and have this endpoint connected. And then most importantly, if I go through and I look at the actual invite, I see that the details that I have put in are all there. There's nothing that's been tampered with. Everything is as I said. So if there would be an agenda in there, all of that would be present. So fundamentally, taking a simple invite, having the user embed whatever they want, and have the system realize that I have an endpoint, I have people, I need a place to meet, and having Synergy join do that work for us in the background. Simple and straightforward. In this scenario, we're going to change things up a little bit, and we're going to use a Polygon group system for our use case. This one's a little bit weird. It's the case where you get an invite from somewhere and you want to kind of use that in order to create a one button to push using Synergy join. So in this case here, I'm going to be using an invite that I received from a colleague at Zoom. And basically, I've went ahead and I've pressed that forwarding mechanism so that I'm able to actually add in a header that's appropriate to me, so I know what's going on there. So here's the invite that I did receive. I'm just double checking the time and the date, making sure all that's there. I've added the details associated with the endpoint that I want to throw the invite to. And then lastly, I want to add Vemin to the equation, because not only can I have resources, but I also want to include people as well. So once I have all of that in, I double check my invite, everything looks good. I press the send. I don't need anything from a location perspective. And then away it goes. Exchange and Outlook will do a few bings and bongs, and basically what they will do is check the availability of the endpoint, and then they will go and see if there's any approvals required, and if there's anything associated with that, then it will go ahead and adapt to that that use case, that workflow. And then once that's all done, Synergy Join will then extract all the pertinent details associated with that invite, and then move that to the Polycom group series and place it into the mechanism for the click to join. If I go back and take a look at the details associated with the invite, what I will see is basically all the details that were sent to me, and you will be able to join as you would any other Zoom meeting based on the invite that is there. It is unchanged, and basically just a forward of what was externally sent to me from someone else. So again, very straightforward and very easy. Taking an external invite and then putting it on a Polycom system for usage. You walk in, you click the button. It's straightforward and it's so easy. So Veman, from a wrap-up perspective, we went through a dynamic VMR scenario. We went through a static VMR scenario. We went through a Skype for Business, a Microsoft Teams, a Cisco Webex. We've leveraged Cisco endpoints. We've leveraged Polycom endpoints, and we've even taken an external invite and forward that on to a meeting room to facilitate a one button to push or a click to join experience, regardless of where that invite is coming from. So in closing, I hope you guys saw how simple it was, how easy it is, and how it doesn't change anyone's workflow. You also saw the templates that were added when the workflow didn't have anything to go by. So if you do have an empty invite, the de facto save the day type scenario is that Synergy Join is smart enough to realize that that has occurred. It will put the details and the information into the system and allow you to proceed without any challenges, get you where you need to be, get you connected to that meeting simply and effectively. That's all I have for you right now, and looking forward to talking to you soon. Cheers.